Welcome to this deep dive. And we're going to be talking about the world of sleep and stress
Yeah.
and how they sort of impact your daily life.
Yeah.
I think we've all had that feeling, where you
Oh.
don't get a good night's sleep and then the next day
hmm
you just feel on edge. You're more sensitive to those everyday annoyances.
Yeah.
And of course, stressful days often make it harder to unwind
hmm
and, fall asleep later.
Yeah, it's like a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be exploring today, just how connected those two things really are. We're going to be taking a look at a couple of studies, one from the Journals of Gerontology, Psychological Sciences, and that one looks at the daily interplay of sleep, stress, and mood. And then we'll be taking a look at another study from the journal Personal Relationships, and this one investigates the long-term impact that stress can have on sleep quality.
So we're really going to get into how the sleep-stress connection plays out in our lives. And I think what's really interesting is we're going to uncover some surprising age-related differences that the research revealed.
Yeah, definitely. Let's start with like the daily grind and how a lack of sleep can really amplify
Yeah.
our stress response. The study in the Journals of Gerontology showed that when individuals experience a poor night's sleep, they actually become more reactive to stress the following day. They reported more negative emotions and fewer positive ones.
So almost like it sets the stage for kind of having a bad day.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And it wasn't just, a matter of just feeling grumpy. They actually tested the participants on their ability to remember words. And those who were sleep deprived, they remembered fewer positive and neutral words, but they had no trouble recalling the negative words. It's almost like their brains were primed for negativity.
Yeah, that's a little unsettling. So it's not just, in our heads. We really are more susceptible to that stress and negativity after a poor night's sleep. I know I definitely can feel that like sharp edge
Hmm.
after, tossing and turning all night. It really makes you wonder, how much is our sleep impacting, our focus and performance each day?
Yeah, it's definitely a significant factor. And, to make matters worse, stress itself can be a major sleep saboteur. So,
Mm.
it fuels that vicious cycle even more. And both of the studies that we're looking at today, they highlighted the link between high stress levels
Mm.
and poor sleep outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. The personal relationship study even found
Mm.
that the more stressful events
Mm.
that people experience in early adulthood, the worse their sleep quality was in middle age.
Mm-hmm.
So, that stress we encounter early on can have a really long-lasting impact on our sleep.
Yeah, it really seems like the effects of stress can linger for decades. And it's really important to understand why this happens. When we're stressed, our bodies trigger that fight or flight response,
Mm.
and that releases hormones that make it very difficult to relax and fall asleep.
It's like our bodies are on high alert,
Yeah.
ready to deal with some kind of threat, even when we're trying to, wind down for the night.
Exactly. And one of the participants in the personal relationship study actually had to move multiple times due to financial strain. And you can imagine that kind of upheaval. It can create a chronic state of stress
Yeah.
that really disrupts those sleep patterns over time.
Yeah, that's a powerful example of how stressful life events can impact our sleep
Hmm.
even years later.
Yeah, definitely. Makes you think, huh? What are some of the things in your own life, that might be affecting your sleep, even if you don't realize it consciously, those anxieties? Maybe it's work, maybe it's relationships, maybe finances. All those things could be contributing to those restless nights.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely food for thought. But here's where things get really interesting. The research suggests that the interplay between sleep and stress actually changes as we age.
It does, yeah. The Journals of Gerontology study found a really interesting pattern for middle-aged adults. Just one good night's sleep was enough to significantly reduce that negative impact of stress, the next day. But for older adults, the benefits of good sleep were most pronounced on low-stress days.
That's surprising. Why do you think there's that difference in how different age groups experience those benefits?
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure, but one possibility is that older adults who tend to face, less social stress may be more tuned to the subtle restorative effects of a good night's sleep. Or maybe younger adults, their sleep is so chronically disrupted that, one good night just isn't enough to fully reset that balance.
Right. That makes sense. Thankfully, there's some good news, though. The Journals of Gerontology study also found that experiencing positive emotions throughout the day can actually help buffer the negative effects of stress. And what's even more encouraging is that good sleep seems to boost the power of those positive emotions.
Exactly. It's almost like sleep amplifies our ability to experience and benefit from those positive emotions, which in turn, helps us cope with stress more effectively.
So it's not just about, reducing the stress. It's also about actively cultivating those positive experiences. But how do we do that, especially when we're feeling, overwhelmed and stressed out?
Right. Well, that's where something called the broaden and build theory comes in. This theory was developed by psychologist Barbara Fredrickson, and it suggests that positive emotions broaden our thinking and help us build resources, to cope with stress. It helps us see the bigger picture, come up with creative solutions, and connect with others for support.
So instead of getting bogged down by all the negative thoughts and worries, positive emotions can help us shift our perspective and open up new possibilities.
Precisely. And that's why, it's so important to find ways to incorporate, more positivity into our daily lives, even in the midst of stress, whether it's spending time with loved ones, engaging in hobbies, or simply taking a few moments to appreciate the simple things, these small acts of positivity can make a big difference.
Yeah, and remember prioritizing that good sleep can make those positive emotions even more powerful,
Yeah.
It's like investing in your emotional resilience.
Exactly. And here's another fascinating finding from the personal relationships. Study a person's overall relationship skills and experiences in early adulthood, what researchers call relationship effectiveness, predicted better sleep quality in middle age.
Oh, wow. So people who are good at building and maintaining healthy relationships tend to sleep better later in life.
Mm.
I'm curious what the connection is there.
Well, it seems that those strong relationship skills can help reduce stress, in the long run. People who are adept at navigating relationships, building trust, resolving conflict, and fostering that emotional closeness, they tend to experience fewer and less disruptive, stressful life events.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If you have that solid support system and you feel secure in your relationships, you're probably better equipped to handle those challenges and bounce back from setbacks.
Exactly. And that emotional resilience translates into better sleep quality over time. So cultivating those healthy relationships, early on can have a ripple effect that benefits your sleep for years to come.
It's amazing how interconnected everything is. You know, our sleep, our stress levels, our relationships, and even how we age. It paints a pretty complex picture of how all these factors, influence our daily experiences and our long-term well-being. It really does feel like a complex web, where if one strand gets pulled out of place, the whole thing can start to unravel. But I guess on a more positive note, it seems like we might have more control than we realize. If we can improve one area like our sleep or our relationships, it can kind of have this ripple effect that, positively impacts other areas of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And understanding these connections really gives us the power to make positive changes. And I think it starts with recognizing the very real impact that sleep deprivation and stress have, on our daily lives. It's not just about feeling tired or a little irritable. It can really significantly impair, our focus, our decision making, and even our emotional control.
Yeah, it's easy to just kind of brush it off as, just having a bad day.
Hmm.
But the research suggests that chronic sleep deprivation and stress can have some pretty serious consequences for how we function, personally and professionally.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. When you're running on low sleep and high stress, you're more likely to make, those careless mistakes, or you struggle to concentrate during meetings, or you snap at, colleagues or loved ones. It can really create this downward spiral that impacts, every aspect of your day.
And if that pattern continues, it can lead to burnout and strained relationships and even health problems down the road.
It's a slippery slope for sure. But the good news is that we can break the cycle. And it starts with making sleep a priority, not a luxury. We really need to shift our mindset and see sleep as an investment in our physical and mental well-being.
So no more sacrificing sleep for those late night work sessions or binge watching.
Right. As tempting as those things can be, it's about setting those boundaries and making conscious choices that support restful sleep. Establishing a consistent sleep routine, creating a relaxing bedtime ritual, and prioritizing that sleep hygiene can really go a long way in improving the quality and quantity of our sleep.
So it's not just about getting those hours, it's really about creating an environment that promotes, truly restorative sleep.
Exactly. And we can't forget about stress management.
Yeah.
Finding healthy coping mechanisms, whether it's through exercise, mindfulness, spending time in nature, or connecting with loved ones, it's crucial for breaking that stress sleep cycle.
It's about building that toolbox,
Right.
of strategies that can help us manage stress in a healthy way and prevent it from kind of hijacking our sleep.
Absolutely. And remember what we talked about earlier about the power of those positive emotions? Actively cultivating those positive experiences in our daily lives can help buffer those negative effects of stress and really enhance our resilience.
So even on those challenging days, finding those small moments of joy and connection or gratitude can make a big difference in how we cope and ultimately how well we sleep.
Yeah, it's about shifting our focus from what's stressing us out to what brings us joy and, helps us feel grounded and recharged.
Well, this deep dive has really been eye-opening. I think we've explored this really intricate connection between sleep and stress, how it changes across the lifespan, and most importantly, those steps we can take to improve our sleep and, ultimately our well-being.
And here's a final thought-provoking idea to consider. While we focused on, the negative effects of sleep deprivation and stress, imagine the positive possibilities if we prioritize good sleep and stress management. What if instead of just mitigating the downsides, we could unlock, even greater levels of energy and creativity and resilience?
That's a powerful question. It suggests that good sleep might be more than just a basic need. It could be like this key to unlocking our full potential.
Exactly. So I encourage everyone listening, think of sleep as an investment, not a luxury. Prioritize it, create those healthy habits, and see what positive transformations unfold in your life.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of sleep and stress. We hope you gain some valuable insights and feel inspired to make some positive changes. Remember, a well-rested and resilient you is out there waiting to be discovered. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences, so feel free to connect with us on social media. Until next time, sleep well.